How do things heal?
Welcome to Parenting Matters Now, a source of parenting advice a few minutes at a time.
Hi, this is Dr. Roger Smith of Parenting Matters Now. I have a segment that is going to merge biology with psychology. Here we go. Oftentimes, whenever the body is injured in any way, inside or outside, there is a healing process that involves a concept called inflammation. And sometimes we refer to people making inflammatory remarks or being inflammatory in their approach to things. And there's actually something that happens inside the body and inside the being that is inflammatory. And I don't mean in a negative sense. In fact, it is part of the healing process. And I want you to understand this as it relates to the way that you heal both physically and emotionally. And this also applies to your children. So oftentimes I'll have someone come to my office with a wound of some sort, and they'll look at it and say, it's red, it's infected. And I'll look at it and I'll look for signs of infection. And what I see is just signs of inflammation. And what's happening in the body is that when there is a wound, there's all kinds of things that are triggered to help the body to heal. And we refer to that process generally as inflammation. And it triggers immune responses, and it triggers things that come to the site of the injury that actually cause it to hurt, cause it to swell, cause it to look angry. There are processes that have to happen for normal healing. And we're trained in medicine to look at things and identify what exactly is happening. And sometimes I can convince people that it is not infected, and other times they're convinced that it is. And no matter what I say or do will convince them otherwise. And so I have to adjust to what are the expectations both of myself and of the patient. So let's turn that to you, that whenever you are wounded, either physically or emotionally, there is this concept of inflammation. It's different emotionally than it is physically, but the whole premise is true, that in the healing process, things often seem to be worse in the process of getting better, because the healing process does involve a lot of focused attention, a lot of resources coming to the scene of the injury, creating a healing process. And sometimes whenever we are wounded emotionally, we're very sensitive to other people's attempts to help. Just like in a wound, without inflammation, a wound, whether it's a dental wound, I just had some dental work done, without the inflammation, there's no real pain. It's not tender, it's not sensitive, but the inflammation, the healing process actually makes things a bit more sensitive. And that's true in an emotional sense too, is that when there is a emotional stress or wound, that you're much more sensitive to comments or ideas that affect that particular wound. And it is a process. It's not something you can go, well, I'm just going to ignore that. And it'd be nice if we could say, well, I'm just going to act like that didn't hurt me. And we can to a degree, but we still have to deal with the hurt. It is something that over time, even the pain of the injury is part of the healing of the injury and moving to a better spot. It doesn't make things go away. In fact, just like wounds on the body can leave a scar, wounds in the soul can leave a scar. But it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, that we do get to a spot where the scar is a memory that has both good and bad in it. We can look at it with a sense of healing. I mean, I don't know of a better term. I was speaking to a friend just 2 days ago that had her only child to die as a young adult. Just bringing up the subject, that just recalling the injury that had, has been several years now, but still there are tender spots in our conversations that surround the wound. It wasn't like total angst. It was It was tearful conversation. Just know that inflammation serves its purpose. Now, I'm not advocating someone just going around being inflammatory, just aggravating people for the sake of aggravation. That is not what I'm talking about. But the healing process does involve inflammation. All of those things that come together to help you get to a better spot so that you can smile at the future. You can reminisce and learn from the past. And that the pain of all those things is productive. It's Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now.
Subscribe to Parenting Matters Now for more advice, or go to rogersmithmd.com to search for more topics. See you next time.